Okay, today comparing the size and just the various specs of the brand new iPhone 16 Pro Max to the beloved but now old, not really, but yeah, previous generation iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, if I didn't tell you which was which, would you be able to tell? So this is the 15 Pro Max and this is the 16 Pro Max. Side by side, they look pretty much exactly the same. However, see if you can see it in this camera, the 16 Pro Max is probably 1/8 of an inch taller. So it's not much bigger, but it is bigger. The sides, though, are the exact same. They are smooth all the way around on each phone. It's really just when you put it together like this that you can kind of see that the top here is just ever so slightly taller. And so what that means, of course, is that the new phone does not fit in previous cases or cages, which is a total bummer, but it is what it is. The actual camera bump is remarkably the same. I think some people have commented that it appears that on the 16, they're just slightly further apart. And it does look like that to my eye as well. I would say, if anything, it's millimeters, literally millimeters wider. And so again, what that means from a video and filmmaking perspective, photography as well, is our cases, etc., won't work properly with these new phones. And a big problem, of course, is that the larger sensors and larger camera bump, everything has to be aligned perfectly when using external lenses. Otherwise, they go out of focus and they're just not usable. And so right now I'm waiting on new cases from the different manufacturers because at this point, they're not available widely anyway. I think some people have them. I think Moment and Sandmark are working on them, and I know Reflex is too. And so I should have those soon. But one thing I wanted to show also is just how this compares to the 14. This is the 14 Pro Max. And then the 13. That's the 13 Pro Max. So at first glance, again, they are all remarkably similar size. The camera bumps are all very similar. The 13 has the smallest camera bump, and then the 14 as well is a little bit bigger, but still smaller than the 15 and 16. But again, first glances, they all look the same. And then the 13 and 14 and 15 actually are all basically the exact same size body. And the bevels are very similar. The bevels have gotten skinnier or thinner on the 16 here, but not a lot. Not a lot. You really can't even feel it in your hand. I guess this is the 13. The 13 feels a little more squared, and this one feels a little more rounded on the edge. Aesthetically, it may look kind of nicer, this new titanium, but it's very subtle. It's very, very subtle. And again, even looking at the camera bump here, the camera bump is smaller on the 13, but it's not that much smaller. And of course, it still has the 3-lens array. And then again, here's the 14. So the 14 is very similar, and then the 15 compared to the 14, and then the 13 again compared to the 15. And so if you're looking for a big difference in the actual look and feel of the phone, that's not happening. It's all really inside the phone. And it was a huge jump from a video perspective from the 13, 14 to the 15, because with the 15 we have Apple Log, that's the big thing. And then of course, the really big selling point is you've got USB-C. The USB-C is a big deal for filmmaking in particular, but then also just for, a modern connection. The 16 continues that. The 14 and the 13 are both still Lightning, which, it is what it is. But one really big difference between these phones is how much they weigh. And that was a huge improvement again, going up to the 15. And so we'll start with the 13. The 13 weighs 240 grams. Not bad, but kind of heavy, especially once you got the 15. But then the 14 weighs 241 grams, so it was a little bit heavier than the 13. And this phone always felt kind of heavy to me, always. And again, especially once I got the 15. The 15 weighs 222 grams. Now, that's only, 19 grams less, but trust me, if you haven't held a 15, that makes a big difference. Not only just for everyday carry kind of stuff, but then using it on a gimbal or in a cage and just mounting stuff to it. That less heavy or less weight feeling makes a big difference. And so now the 16, I'm pretty sure it continues that trend. It's actually 227 grams. And so it's 5 grams heavier. It doesn't necessarily feel that much heavier. I guess 5 grams isn't that much, but the 15 is lighter. But in the end, this phone is a little bit bigger, and so that's probably where the weight comes from. But again, from a filmmaking perspective, the lighter weight really does make a difference in my opinion. Now, if you're using a tripod or something, often I want it to be heavier, or even on some bigger gimbals, I want it to be heavier. So the 14 was good in that respect. However, what I normally do then is just put it in a cage, and that way I'm adding weight to it, adding heft, so to speak, because then sometimes your camera moves are smoother, etc. But that's neither here nor there, because now we're dealing with bigger phones that are lighter, and I think that's a good thing. And then the last thing I'm going to show today in this video is just, speaking of a case. This is a Sandmark case, one I use quite a bit. Really like it. It's a nice build quality, and it mounts their 17mm lenses, which is awesome. But it also works with reflex lenses because those are 17mm as well. So this is a cool case, and it fits perfectly with the 15. And I've had some people say, I think that the 16 will work with the 15. Well, let me show you the 15 real fast. It just pops right in, and it's totally fine. Works great. And the 16, while it's only slightly bigger, it just doesn't work. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. It just sticks out. Again, it's maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch. It's not much, but it will not fit into this case. And so the only reason I'd even want to do that is right now I don't have a case or a cage to be able to mount my lenses and different filters and such. And so it's really just a waiting game right now. And so that's one reason that I've been using a universal cage. And so universal cages can be great, like this one from Ulanzi. Unfortunately, they don't make this exact case anymore, or cage, I should say. It's a really great one. It's very well built. It takes any kind of handles. Like I've got a small rig handle on here. And then the cool thing is it just has this knob you dial in to release or add tension, and the phone will just pop right out. And so that is one really good thing about universal cages. And then I also used a Beast grip, and it's similar to the previous cage where you just lift up this clamp and you can put the phone right in. And so it too is easy to use. And then I call this the half version of the cage because it has another section that goes down here where you can actually mount lenses and such. You can't really easily mount a filter. This part slides in. Then you can see how you can position the phone, and you can move this up and down, and you can add a lens. But for me, that's a little bit cumbersome, truth be told. It's a nice feature, again, because it's universal, and then you can mount lenses, but then you have to do the alignment, and it can get a little bit tricky. But nonetheless, it's a good option, especially right now where I don't have the Beast cage, which is my favorite kind of setup by a long shot from Beast Grip. But the Beast cage in a half cage configuration is a really great way to go. And if I had, for example, the new Moment case that has the small little filters that slide into their case over the camera bump, that would be a really nice, easy way to go out and shoot some professional quality video. And so I hope to have that new Moment gear soon as well. And then while I'm here, just one last universal cage that I use quite a bit. This one's from Rode, but Moment makes one as well, and it's a MagSafe cage. I did a video about this if you're interested, and I like these MagSafe cages. They're pretty nice actually, but for me, I don't really use them in any more robust shooting. I actually like them mainly in my studio when I'm not moving around a lot. It's easy, obviously, just to pop it on, and then you're shooting, you've got a stable shot. If you're out in the field, sometimes it can be a little wonky, especially if you start putting gear on here. They do work, don't get me wrong, but again, I feel like I always have to be more careful. And so the MagSafe stuff is very nice, but it's limited. But again, it is universal, and so this will work with any phone really if you buy an adapter that has a MagSafe connection. And so that's a quick look at some universal cages, and then the size comparison with the 16 Pro Max, the 15 Pro Max, and then also the 14 and 13. So again, the 16 Pro Max is a little bit bigger, a little bit different body, but still very similar to the other phones. And so whether you upgrade or not is your choice. The biggest reasons for me are the USB-C, if you're coming from a pre-15 phone, and then of course shooting Apple Log. And now with the 16, you've got 4K 120 frames per second, and you have the new larger 48 megapixel ultra wide camera. More videos about the 16 Pro Max coming soon, so if you're not subscribed, please do that now. Thanks for watching. This is Blake Calhoun, and I'll see you in the next video.